Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another soothing and entertaining episode of The Unwatched File. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Billings, and of course, your co-host, Andrew Cabral. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? That of all of our various theme songs we have for all the different shows here on Chasing Labels, that one may be my favorite.
Hey, did you get your popcorn?
Oh, I got my. Oh, there it is.
Look at
Gotta get it. Ironically, I was
look
eating
at that!
popcorn.
I actually got popcorn today.
Oh,
Oh,
it became like 3D over in here.
Yeah, I took it right out of the screen because tonight our theme tonight is like
Yes.
movies about movies, and I just want to touch you guys through the screen.
They want to rephrase that someday.
Well, look, take it however you want it, but
I guess so. Ironically, I was eating popcorn last night while watching the movie that I'm going to talk about here for the Unwatched pile. So it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
That's great, man. I'm glad. I love it. I love it when a movie ties itself back around from the beginning to the end. But hey, if you've never listened or watched the Unwatched pile, what we do here is me, Andrew, and a guest will go digging into their collections for them unwatched films. Them little them movies you get so excited to buy that you never get around to watch them. It's weird. But we do it. We have a lot of them. And so this show, we go take one off the shelf. We watch it. We come in here to give our first impressions. And then we go back into our collections, find a nice movie in there that will pair nicely with this new first-time watch. I'm excited because this week,
I got another one this week that's been sitting in my collection for a decade. Actually, longer than a decade.
That's good.
It's a good time.
And I'm excited because this is like my favorite subject. I love movies about movies. That's what our theme is tonight. I'm on a side note, I am working on another project that's about this subject in general. So like, I'm just like going out there and buying more movies of this, of like this. So there's a lot for me to go through. And this one that I'm watching tonight was one that is pretty highly ranked as a favorite for people. So I'm excited to talk about mine, but our guest tonight, he is known as the Bearded Film Guy. He does multiple podcasts. We'll let him talk to you about it. Mr. Chris Higgins, what's up, man?
Hello, thank you guys for having me on again. A different episode in Chasing Labels, but back again. So thank you.
Of course, man. Yeah. You've joined the Chasing Labels universe. You're now not only a movie mutator, but also a unwatched piler.
A pile person? You're a pile person.
You pile.
I pile.
You pile. Let me ask you about that. Just to start off, tell everybody about what you're into, what you do.
So obviously I go by Bearded Film Guy online. I co-host a podcast called Beyond the Blood, and on that podcast we dissect genre movies based on their audio commentaries. So we dive into a title, pick apart the audio commentary, and then discuss the movie using the commentary as the base to kind of talk about what we learned or different themes and things. And it's a lot of fun. And it's really allowed me to kind of find a platform that lets me go as deep as I can. I'm not restricted to a 2-minute Instagram video or watches on a YouTube channel. It's been incredible so far, and I'm so grateful for the growth of the show and kind of the network and the other shows surrounding us. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, man, I'm wanting to go deep on some stuff too, man. I know I might have to dig into your brain off camera about your process, because I'm trying to figure out how to go about my digging into my movies that I'm doing. So but that's awesome. Yeah, I've listened to a lot of your episodes. I listened to your side gig show that you did with was it the I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. The who's your co-host on that show?
It's we have another show, the Fireside Collection, with my buddy Jordan from the Movie Den. We just that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot less research, more so just talking about what we watched for a week.
But I love that because I like it's like the Linklater version of a podcast. It's just the hang and anything can happen. And I like because I think you did this on another podcast, or I've heard it, but I love the sound effect in the background with the fire, giving an atmosphere back there. I think it's a cool idea. So
Thank you. Yeah, we tried to originally in Beyond the Blood, we tried to theme kind of the background to the individual episodes. Like I remember we did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and
Mm.
we found like a Texas soundscape that ran for somehow 3.5 hours that we did that episode. And I realized one day somebody messaged me and they're like, "Hey man, at 2 hours and 41 minutes, there seems to be an ad in the background sound effects that you
Yeah.
like."
Well,
Like,
see,
okay, I think I'm gonna ditch this.
yeah. Well, the thing is like unfortunately, I think that idea is limited because it's like there's only so many things you could listen to as room noise for that long
Mhm.
and it not eventually get annoying. Like
Yeah, now
you know,
it's
yeah,
now it's kind of like if I find something that could possibly fit, then
yeah.
I'll do that. But for the most part, I think the sound of a fire is very
No, the
comforting, and
sound of a fire is soothing. It's great. I
yeah,
love it.
it's very
Yeah,
soothing, and I do find that like I'm not one to go in and edit out all of the times that nobody's speaking. There's
yeah.
maybe
No, I ain't
second or
either.
I'm not one to go in and cut that because to me it ruins conversation flow. But in that time, it is nice to just kind of have that like very basic fire going. It just kind of creates an ambiance, I think.
It does. I love it. I love it, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, please go over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm guessing
Mhm.
a lot of the normal places you can go check out Chris's stuff. But just before we get into the main show, uh, just speaking about your collecting habits, tell us:
Mhm.
are you somebody with a very large unwatched pile in that collection, or have you watched most of the movies that you own? What's going on there?
I try not to have too big of a pile, especially the last, I would say, 2 years. I've been much more careful about what I'm buying and what I'm picking,
Yeah.
and that's allowed me to kind of dive into things quicker as opposed to like I used to just kind of buy, and then eventually you get to a point where you're not in the mood to watch something that you bought, and then you just never find yourself in that mood for a year and a half, and then
Yeah.
I need room, and I'm like, well, I never watched this, so I'm probably never going to. I might as well just move on.
Yeah.
Um, so now it's significantly less than it used to be. But it's still every now and again. I think the other day I was looking at my collection and there was something that I found. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, it was The Handmaiden.
Yeah.
I believe it was is that what-
Chan Wook.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember his whole name.
Is it
Chinwook
Park
Park?
Chan-wook?
Chan Wook
Chan-wook?
Park.
Yeah. I came across that in my collection. I was like, I wonder when I bought this. So I went on Amazon and it was 3.5 years ago. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to watch this. So,
You
you know,
do because it's good. It's really good.
yeah, yeah. I so every now and again it happens. But when you've been collecting for 8, 10 years, you guys even longer than I have
Yep.
probably, it stacks up really quickly.
It can. Yeah, for sure.
So I try not to. I try to watch things much quicker now because uh, I think the more I lean into being like the physical media as education guy, like that's what I push on social media really heavy. I try not to become a like I don't want to become the person that's like, oh, let me preach physical media as education and then also have this giant pile of shit I'll never watch.
For sure.
So I put the pressure on myself to like, okay, be the person you want. People to,
That you advertise that you should be.
yeah.
It's a tough balance. It's and I'm not trying to be a hater to anybody specifically or anybody out there, because I care about people buying physical media, but I'm with you. I also really care about people actually diving into these things. So, but I kind of get a little bit turned off lately by just seeing so many pages and collectors that it just seems like all they're doing is posting what they buy and just posting and
Mhm.
posting and posting and it just feels like they're just showing off these really large collections and it kind of it I don't know, it feels like I'm seeing more and more of them pages, you know what I mean, and not a lot
Yeah.
of people just like talking about movies at all.
Well, I think and no, no like shade to anybody on this, but I think that there's a portion of the physical media market that is kind of catering to that audience. You
Yeah.
have studios have learned that you can release the same title 3, 4, 5 times on a steelbook, and all you have to change is the art on the steelbook to make your money back, and that builds a mentality of more so just physical collections that don't go any further than ever being opened and the disc removed and put into a player, right? And
Yeah.
that's unfortunate because A, you're just scalping people for money, but B, you're building this mentality of limited edition needs to be bought now, and now other studios are learning that. You have more companies than ever that are doing more versions that are not adding anything new, that are just adding one physical element to it, and people are just putting it on the shelf and they're never going to touch it again. For what?
Yeah, I mean, as you're the way you're describing it for sure is it's a two-way street. It's the companies that are releasing these know what they're doing because they need to sell things, but also as consumers, we have to have self-control. And I think
Yeah.
there's some people that just have not quite figured that out. I mean, I'm guilty of it I would say I was guilty of that for a while. I think nowadays I'm a lot more like in a space where I'm only buying is really mostly what I want, not just buying things for status, So
yeah, I mean, I've definitely I'm in a group chat with like 5, 6 friends of mine, and I'm definitely a little bit of the kind of I don't want to say the hater of the group, but what everybody else is buying, I'm like, why do I need like
yeah.
why do you need that? Why are you buying that? You know what I mean? And it's fine. It's your money. You can buy whatever you want, but
Sure.
you have so much, like if you sit down, like the movie I picked tonight, it's not even going back on the shelf because I still have to dive into hours of bonus material that's on the disc. So to me, just watching the movie, it's not complete. I still have a booklet to read. Like there's still so much for me to unpack and get into. To me, that is what physical media is about. It's the ownership, but it's also the education behind it. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I get
I
that not everybody wants to learn, right? People don't want to, and that's fine. But we all who are into that portion of things, we started as people who had never watched a commentary, never watched a documentary, never read a booklet, and we took the chance on it and liked it, and now it's habitual for us to do. And I feel like people should eventually at least try it and kind of see if they're into it.
For sure. I just wish I had seen more evidence of it out there. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like I'm seeing more and more just unboxings, more and more just like these things where they're just showing off the thing and not like saying, hey, my thoughts about this movie because they haven't watched it yet, or you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like it's flooding the market with just like product placement advertisement that I'm sure a lot of these people are getting just copies, and they're showing them off, and that's part of it too. And it's a back and forth.
It really also kind of depends on the format in which you're kind of doing those things. Things like TikToks and Instagram is intended for really short,
quick things for
quick
sure.
things that don't take a lot of time to do, don't take a lot of you can't really get into a lot of details about those things. YouTube is really kind of the last place where you can, make a 10-minute video on a movie or 20-minute video on a movie or however long you want. But most social media platforms is basically like you only get like a certain number of minutes, or it can only be so long, and you gotta like hit like, here this is. It looks cool. Do you think it's cool? I think it's cool. And then we move on to something else.
I skipped them. Yeah.
Well, that's
so
how
like, you need a longer format to really dive into these things, especially when it comes to what we do here on Chasing Labels with the boutique label releases. Like Chris was just saying, there's so much that goes into them that like there's so many special features, the booklets, the design, the cover art, the packaging, all that kind of stuff, where it's really like you have to take a few minutes to really dive into all that and show an appreciation for it, as opposed to like mainstream studio releases where it's like, here's the case and here's the disc and it's got the movie and that's about it for the most part.
Yeah, well, that's literally what my progression is kind of like. It was like I started posting on social media and then started a YouTube, and YouTube was just not like anytime I went any as in depth as I wanted to, there was no interest. So you're not seeing growth on there.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I'd gone to my wife, who is my biggest supporter, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And my buddy Daniel, who I don't know if you guys watch the Cobwebs channel on YouTube.
No, I have to check it out.
Yeah, Daniel, he's incredible. And I was talking to him one day, and he was like, "Hey, man, like you might be best on a podcast with that depth." And now, when we started the show, I was actually kind of afraid because I was like, "Who the hell wants to listen to a 2.5 hour analysis of an audio commentary? Like, who wants to do that?" And then as we made episodes and we progressed, and we've never departed from being exactly what we wanted to be. And now we've learned, like, oh, there is interest here, and there is people who do want to learn. And every now and then we get messages that are like, "Hey, I've never listened to an audio commentary before. I do now." Or when we come out and say, "Hey, we're going to be doing this movie," we always get a handful of people who are like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch it with the commentary, and then I'm gonna companion it with your episode and kind of see how thoughts cross." And you realize that people are into this stuff. It's just a matter of, like, can you be the person to help them get into it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And also, it's tough to find the specific audience. It's tough to find that
Mhm,
niche audience that's going to be interested in what you're saying,
mhm.
or maybe if they're not interested, they'll have a curiosity for it, and then they'll get themselves interested. And you're right, doing YouTube, like it's different now than it was, let's say 15, 20 years ago, where there's so
Mhm.
much of it. It's tough to find a consistent audience of any
Yeah.
amount. Small, big, medium, whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. So podcasting has been a bit of a thing. That's kind of how we started out, was doing
Well,
the
yeah, we were
podcasting.
strictly audio for the longest
Mm,
time, but then we've crossed over, and now we do both. And I mean, it works fine. I think it helps cover, uh, the ability to try to cover more of an audience to reach out to more people. But I mean, we do it because we love it anyway, no matter whether we're getting an audience or not. So, but
Yeah.
speaking of that audience, they're shouting out to us today. Of course, got a fan of yours shouting out. Chris's page is amazing, and yes, if I didn't say it
Thank you.
before, great photography. There's a lot of these like very sweeping shots that come slowly into his room he's in there and stuff. Like, I love it. I love it. Chris is similar to me and Andrew, where there's like a romanticness to our collections,
Mhm.
our love for cinema, that you try to do that with a lot of your photography. And so I love it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's honestly, it started as just trying to stand out. Like, it was just like, how can I take the best pictures of something nobody's caring to put quality into? And what's really
Yeah.
cool is, more than ever, I see people putting effort into trying to take pictures of their physical media releases. And while my ego will say, like, good luck getting to my level, I love to
Yeah.
see it, and I will support them. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Hey, you have to, man. Them are the people
Yeah.
watching your videos. I mean, you got
Oh,
to
yeah.
support it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like some people just buy to buy. I can't stand when people buy a movie and it's still shrink wrapped. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. I just see a lot of people just doing that. But yeah, man, I'm with you. You know, you got to find your thing, and I think that as long as you're enjoying it, and I think it seems like you are doing. I love that somebody's advocating for education, and actually diving into these physical media releases, because like I said, it seems to be back and forth out there. So but
Well, it's you guys, what you guys do, what everybody does on someone's favorite productions is important. And unfortunately, anybody like really pushing for it, the audience is going to be significantly smaller than most, but it's okay because I think you're going to make the biggest impact. And we never really chased, we've never done ads for the show or anything because we never really chased like a new audience, because we knew that we're not the show
yeah,
that's going to cater to general audience. But every now and then, like, I'll peek at stats and I'm always a little bit like shocked when I'm like, I'm like, okay,
uh,
hopefully, maybe somebody learned something, because that's at the end of the day, like, I will have this show for the rest of my life, and I don't care if it never reaches, 3 more people per episode. If one of those people can listen to it and it influences them to put in the second disc in their boutique release and dive into that, our job is done. We've
did it, man.
succeeded. So
Hell yeah, man. I love it. Let's get a few of these comments out before we get started. Acre Movies. We'll answer this question once we get started. I think she's got a second one down here. Yeah. Best scene in Stuntman. So remember that. We're gonna have to get to your best scene. Josie. Actually, I'm sorry. Happy Mother's Day from Josie out there.
Oh, yeah, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, it is. Hey, did you get your mom something, Andrew? It didn't sound like it.
I did not.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's not good. New watches. American Madness from 32. Billy Wilder's Major in the Minor. We have A Moment of Romance. Bye Bye Monkey. Full Contact. Slap the Monster on page 1. I love that title. And Jade Raksha.
So slap the monster on page 1. That's a Radiance release. It's an Italian.
I was gonna say there's a
political film from the 70s.
There's a couple Radiance. There's A Moment of Romance is also a Radiance release.
Oh, that's why that sounds so familiar. Yeah. So I probably have seen that. And then Billy Wilder's Major in the Minor is really good. There was an Arrow Academy Blu-ray of that.
I got it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do, sir.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of these, Chris?
I have not. No. But
Damn
Full
it, Chris.
Contact sounds familiar, but
that could be a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Who knows?
You know what? I should just take Cinephile out of my name on Instagram right now. Honestly, at this point,
it doesn't. Fuck. You've seen way more horror movies than I have. I can tell you that.
That's true.
For sure. All right. Let's. We're a little bit. We're running our mouths a little bit too much at the beginning today. So let's get started. Guests always start. Chris, tell us about your first time watch.
Yeah, so when you reached out to me, I was like, I got to figure out something good to talk about. So I picked this up back in March, actually, at Monster Mania convention. Diabolic at their booth had this, and I'm just a sucker for pretty much like anything Radiance puts out, and they started this sub line called Transmission. And my first release that I picked up from them was 1980s The Stuntman.
Hell yeah!
And yep, there you go.
I have it. I do have it. It's just not in my hands. Sorry.
Okay.
I still have my Obi strip in case anybody wants to get on me. It is folded up and inside of the case. It is. I
forgot Radiance is right behind you.
I never take mine off. Oh, Steve, you took yours off too.
Yeah.
I keep mine on even when the glue like.
Yeah, I don't want the glue to mess up the case.
Do you?
Well,
yeah, I fold them up and put them into the case.
Yeah, I know people who do that as well.
Yeah,
they do the same thing with slip covers. They'll take them off and they'll put them away. Some people do sacrilegious things and throw them away. I don't know why you would do that. You'll never know how much you will never know like how much that those slip covers will end up costing someday.
Oh yeah. When you try to get them back,
people will spend for them.
It's weird.
So, and I don't know how often you guys find blind watches in your collection that you absolutely like fucking loved, but I fell in love with this movie. I don't know how familiar with the Stuntman you guys are, but holy hell, I am so ashamed that I just saw this for the first time.
No, we're similar. I mean, I know I think Andrew had seen it a while back ago, probably for this show.
Yeah, for Tracing Labels.
Yeah, but I when I got this release back when it first came out, I watched it for the first time, and it was I was like, dude, I had heard about this movie for years, and I was like, this is like something Andrew would say. I've been waiting years for like the best release of a movie to come out to finally watch this movie, and that's what I did, and except for the Stuntman, it's like a rare kind of movie, so it makes more sense. Andrew would be like, a movie that's very popular. I waited for the 4K release.
It gets to the point where I don't want to take the thunder away from Chris, but it's gotten to the point where sometimes I'll have a movie sitting in my collection for so long, it'll come out in a new format by the time I get around to watching it.
So I have to wait for the 8K. Damn it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's a great
okay. Yeah, this was great, and I think there's obviously Peter O'Toole is kind of the standout here. He won the Academy Award for this. He's phenomenal. Steve Railsback is Cameron, kind of our main character. He's phenomenal. I think the real standout here is Barbara Hershey. She is phenomenal, obviously from The Entity. The beginning of this movie really kind of threw me off because I love movies about making movies, exactly what we're talking about on the show. And I love there's something about because the early 80s, 80, 81, 82, you still have some of that 70s kind of sensibility coming into it. And I
Yeah.
love that a movie like The Stuntman can just start, it cold opens, you have no idea what's happening. And I will fully admit that the first like 15 minutes of the movie, I was kind of questioning my choice because it just kind of starts
Yeah.
and you have no idea what's happening. uh Cameron begins running away from the police, and there's these really cool like stunt man appreciation, one takes of him doing leaps over fences and stuff. And then you get to the first kind of like the action scene, the first scene that is a production of a movie. And the introduction of Peter O'Toole is so hectic, and we just think we watched somebody die. Why did somebody try to run him over? What is happening? Eh, so until Cameron actually accepts, well, he kind of doesn't really have much of a choice, but he accepts the position to kind of assume this identity and become a stuntman. So much was being thrown at me, and I was like, "Oh my god, okay, this needs to calm down. I don't know what's happening." Once that settles in, I just fell in love, and I became fully attached to how wonderfully all these characters are written and all the mystery. Like I never found myself, especially with the character of Cameron, I never found myself like I really need to know like what happened to him. I was more like, okay, I know something happened and I'm good just kind of letting it hopefully reveal to me later on in this movie.
Yeah.
But also Peter O'Toole in this, he plays the director of the film, is so magnetic.
Yeah.
Like
It's like
he
sneaky. It's sneaky. One of his best roles I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's kind of like a madman in this, and it's great.
yeah. He is, but there's also like I always found myself kind of questioning the intent of everything that he says. So I was
Yeah.
a little like, okay, what's kind of like the, what's the end game here? And then you realize that there really isn't much of an end game. This is just
Yeah.
him. And it makes me think of, like you see movies like Tropic Thunder that show you the director behind the scenes, and the director's a little bit of an eccentric guy and he's a little crazy. Um, but with him, with Peter O'Toole in this role, I genuinely felt like this passion. Like
Yeah.
this guy just really wants to make a good movie, and I love him harassing the writer the entire time and challenging the writer.
Well,
Um,
yeah. I have a God. I hate doing this because this happens sometimes. But like I have a really like there's another movie that just pops into my head, but I don't
mhm.
want to ruin your double feature if we're on the same page.
No,
Um,
please do. I'll tell you if you ruin
I'm
it. I'll say.
thinking about Whiplash.
So that was not my double feature.
Okay. But the way the relationship between the director and Cameron, I feel
Mhm,
is similar in the way or I mean, honestly, Peter O'Toole and the rest of the everybody, like you were talking about, he's always challenging people to
mhm,
make the
mhm,
best version of this movie, whether
mhm.
it comes off as him being an asshole or not. And that's the kind of relationship that our what's the actor that plays in Whiplash, the
J.K. Simmons and Miles
J.K.
Teller.
Simmons is with Miles Teller. He's
Mhm.
always pushing him to these unhealthy limits
Yeah,
to
yeah,
test him all the time. So I'm thinking about that movie. So, but I'm glad it's not
yeah,
your pick.
yeah. It's not, and you know what it is. Whiplash, like kind of in the same way where I think with Whiplash, you're shown J.K. Simmons' character's true intentions like much sooner than Peter O'Toole's. Here's the director. It just every time he was on screen, I was stuck.
Yeah,
I'm like watching his performance, and it's funny because people listening to this might think like, well, okay, this sounds like a really unlikable guy. He's really not, because the set plays pranks on him, literally wasting film to play pranks on him multiple times in the movie, and he laughs with them and he's having fun. And I have to say, and I didn't want to jump into a specific moment so soon. There's a moment in this movie with Barbara Hershey, and I'm going to pull up the exact quote because I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. But
yeah,
there's a moment in this movie which is incredibly interesting because this is 1980. Let's just say production was 78, 79. um there's a moment when Cameron is watching her kind of put on this little show. She has an accent, she's kind of messing, she's kind of putting on this little presentation in front of him, and this comes kind of right at the beginning of the third act. And she says to Cameron, don't you know it's rude to not congratulate a lady? And Cameron replies, what should I congratulate for? The fucking scene or for fucking the director? Because he just learned of their relationship. And there's this medium shot on her face and this perfect just tear that drops from her. And she says, quote unquote, for fucking the director, honey, don't you know that's how little girls get into the movies?
Mhm.
And it stopped me in my tracks. Absolutely stopped me to the point where I rewound it and my wife was kind of coming out like through the room and I was like, you have to watch this scene.
Yeah.
And I don't know the intent of this scene, whether it was just emotional beat, dramatic beat, or if there was kind of some, real Hollywood kind of, this was meant to be like a little bit of
I think a poke at the
cry out.
Hollywood
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dig a
Yeah.
criticism.
Well,
Yeah.
once again,
Yeah.
another movie to compare to. It makes me think, and Andrew will be with me on this.
Steve, you're just
Makes me
dropping
Huh?
movies here.
I know. This one won't. I don't think will be his choice either. Almost Famous. The
Oh.
scene where Kate Hudson finds out about her getting sold to the other band, and that one tear comes down. She's like, "What kind of beer?" It kind of makes me think about that scene. Of course, that came late. That movie came out in 2000, but yeah,
Well,
similar kind of situation. Like finding out having something very dramatic being thrown at you, and something that obviously Barbara Hershey's character is very probably very shameful of, probably to an extent, and then having to admit to hey, I had to fuck the director to be where I'm at. Like, even if I'm talented,
it's interesting that a scene like this would be in a movie from 1980 where, historically Hollywood and probably the movie world in general is notoriously patriarchal. You know what I mean? Like, it's notoriously been run by men pretty much since the very beginning, and women have been subjugated to have to do certain unsavory things in order to advance their careers, get better opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. We kind of know all these things. It's kind of an open secret in Hollywood for decades upon decades. So for this movie to kind of, point that out circa 1980, it's in retrospect, it's pretty profound, as Chris pretty much it was taken very much by it.
Yeah.
Well, this is what 35 years before the Weinstein explosion. You know what I mean? Where it really the floodgates opened. And what's interesting is I read a review of this movie right when I finished it during the closing credits. I was like, let me go on Letterboxd and kind of read some reviews. And I read a review that somebody talked about how this movie feels so large and so small at the same time, because the movie does this really wonderful thing where the action scenes where we're seeing Cameron in action as the stuntman are done in a way that's clearly not to how Hollywood shoots action films. You know what I mean? They're not shooting 5 cameras and running across numerous set pieces with explosions and planes all in single takes. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. But the movie frames it that way. And there's this tension that feels so palpable because you don't know if it's real or not. And it's not until the tension release when we see oh, okay, this was a scene being shot. So you have these intense moments, and these scenes are so grand. I mean, there's planes flying, there's explosions, there's stuntmen falling everywhere. Right there, they're huge.
And for Cameron, what's kind of harrowing for him is that he is a veteran, and so he's probably dealing with some type of PTSD, and he's in a war picture. So he's having a hard time distinguishing himself from reality and a movie. So
yeah, so that's going on all at the same time. And these action scenes, I think there's 3 throughout the movie, are incredible scope.
Yeah.
They're very well done, very large scale. They're, some of the best you're going to find, right? They're right up there. But the character moments when you come down from them feel incredibly intimate and incredibly real. And it really kind of, I read that review and I was like, man, you're right. Like this movie actually could have worked without the big action scenes. It just would have been a smaller scale
Yeah.
picture. But even in the third act, trying to piece together how all of these character arcs are going to come together and how all of this is going to get cleaned up. There's some beautiful moments between the director. I'm always forgetting his name.
Richard Rush.
No.
Oh.
Peter O'Toole's. Eli Cross.
Eli Cross. Yeah.
Yeah. Between Eli and Nina, there's these beautiful moments that kind of close out their relationship, or not close it out, but kind of give you some closure to their relationship. Sam, the writer of the picture, there's some great moments with him. I especially love, and I'm trying to remember his name, Charles Bale, who plays Chuck Barton, who's kind of like the lead stunt coordinator.
Yeah.
A lot of fantastic moments with him. I really love just his delivery. It's this very old school monotone, delivery. And by the end of the movie, there's this great climactic sequence that reverts right back to what we saw at the beginning of the movie with a car that crashes a stunt that goes into the water.
Yeah.
And it was I went into it as soon as it started. I was like, okay, there's either two ways this is going to go. He's either going to survive this wreck or he's not. And we're just going to, that's going to be the end of the story. And the whole time he's under the water, which this movie is shot gorgeous. I don't know if you guys are like big cinematographer people, but this was shot by the same guy who shot Carrie for Brian De Palma. So same cinematographer. There's this incredible moment under the water when he's in the car and he looks out of the rear window of the car and sees that Nina is no longer in the trunk and that she's up on the bridge with Eli. And he begins to try to escape. So he rolls down the window. It's the manual roll down and the water begins to fill it as he tries to get out. And it keeps focusing on the camera, like rolling light that he has. And it's kind of flickering on and off. And you're still at this moment questioning, like, is he going to get out? Is he even willing to get out? Is he going to get out and swim away as a chance to escape? Like, what's he going to do? And it's so satisfying to see the shot when he comes out of the water and he's okay. And he swims to the shore and everybody comes together. And I just really, I fell in love with it, man, because it still ended with an optimism. And this movie is also very funny. It is listed as a comedy. So there's this great bit at the end about the pay rate he's going to get for the stunt with him and Eli as the helicopter does this crazy maneuvering over the water.
That's kind of a running joke for people that know this movie is like the whole thing of like him like popping out of nowhere with the crane. Like, hey, how you doing?
That was literally like my favorite. That's kind of one of my favorite instances because someone mentioned it on how just random it is. Like it's like the crane is like following Cameron and like behind him, like sneaking up on him.
He's just always hanging around.
He's just always around.
Yeah, it's
the ethereal presence of Peter O'Toole in this movie. You kind of have to experience it by watching the movie. Like at any point, he could pop out of like a corner and just start talking about something.
There's a great moment at the beginning when Cameron and him are first speaking on the beach after they shoot that first war sequence, where the camera pans with them, and then next thing you know, they're lifted into the air because they're actually on a lift, and the camera, it's not focusing on the fact that you're lifting. You just see the ground slowly pulling away, and they're getting higher and higher. And I was like, where are they? How'd they get? How'd we get here? Where'd they go? And then there's a wide shot where they're like 60 feet in the air above the set.
You talked about the cinematography. It gives it gives the movie a sense of surrealism because I think predominantly the whole movie is set on this set. And so like they're in like this make-believe world, but also like real things are happening as well because of like, just the maneuverings of trying to make a movie and all this kind of stuff. So it's like a mishmash of like the facade of Hollywood movie making plus real world people talking, but like the lines keep getting blurred back and forth, and the relationship between Barbara Hershey and Cameron's character is fascinating. There's a lot going on in this movie, and I think it could fall apart at any point, and I don't think the movie ever really does.
No, it's a high wire act, but it's worth it when you're done. Yeah.
Well, that was part of the criticism. I was kind of doing some reading on the movie, and but what a kind of the big stab at, I think it was Ebert who gave it, 2 stars and just kind of said there's a lot going on here, but it's not really coming together into one cohesive experience. And that's why it took so long for the movie to get made in the first place. Because what studio wanted to put together this action comedy drama? What is it? Nobody could identify it. And honestly, like, I'm not one to, I don't believe that films should stick to one specific genre. I think that you have the ability to flow in and out of them depending on what you need. And as long as it's not removing you from the experience, then play in all the sandboxes that you can.
Yeah. I mean, when we had, was it Paul what's his last name? We had the guy from Transmission on, and his criteria for curating this is movies that had a hard time getting released, or they got marketed wrong, or they got movies that kind of have like a weird legacy because they weren't quite released right. So this falls into that category for sure, as a movie that kind of got mismarketed, released, and its legacy is kind of taking a while to get to where it is now. So
yeah, it's a phenomenal movie, man. And I wish we still lived in a world where films could be patient with releasing information, especially like character, everything now is kind of written on the pages right in front of you or revealed before you even see the movie. But every character arc in this is so well done, and it's patient. It allows you to kind of you do this thing kind of where you're judging your characters right from the beginning. You're like, okay, this is that character, this is who this is who that is. And as the movie goes along, it begins to change. And by the end, suddenly you have a newfound love for these people that you never had at the beginning. And I wasn't spoon-fed anything. I was able to get this slow reveal of why Cameron is running from the police. I've had this evolutionary character arc from Eli Cross. Like, while he's still the same character and his personality hasn't changed, we understand him at a different level, knowing his relationship with Barbara Hershey's character and kind of seeing the relationship between Eli and Cameron. Like, these relationships evolved in real time, very realistic. It's not like I'm going to come on here and open my heart to you in the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? There's this progression that makes sense, and it makes for just a perfect third act when it all comes together. It feels satisfying. I feel fulfilled. And when I come back to the movie now, I can begin to look for those things a little bit early on and pay attention to kind of some of the signs I might have missed this first time, and kind of create a new experience for myself.
That's people have this weird thing that they only need to watch a movie one time unless they really enjoyed it the first time. They're like, if I didn't really enjoy it the first time, what's the reason to go back? Because you might learn something. But before we move on, I do want to read my favorite moment of the movie. Is the one where they mess up a shot, or they didn't shoot it right, and then he's like, he tears the cinematographer down. He says, the cameraman says, you cut out, there was only 22 seconds of film left. In 22 seconds, I could break your fucking spine. In 22 seconds, I could pinch off the fucking insect head. He just has this whole thing, rips him down. Like, I could have done a lot of things with 22 seconds.
It's the very calm "who yelled cut" on my set. You hear, and the moment you hear that, and he turns and the guy says there was only 3 feet of film left, and I'm like, so
we're supposed to stop. Yeah.
You're supposed to stop it.
Okay. All right, dude.
That's phenomenal.
I love that moment. But to me, it just not. I mean, obviously, some people can read that scene and be like, he's being a fucking asshole. But on the other hand, he's right. It's like, dude, like, you don't know what you're gonna get in 22 seconds. You could have gotten something really special, and it's his job to decide that. It's not.
It reminds me of that clip of David Lynch, and I don't know what he was on set for, but the producer said something about like
I know the clip
behind it. Yeah, but the producer says like, okay, why don't we cut down this scene, how long this scene goes? And he's like, who fucking cares how long a scene goes for? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I love it.
I'm pretty sure that was when he was shooting Twin Peaks: The Return. Like, I'm pretty sure it was that.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, we'll get back to you here in a little bit to see what you paired the stuntman with. Let's move over to Andrew. Tell us about your first time watch.
Yeah, my first time watch is the Francois Truffaut film from 1973 called Day for Night. And this movie I have had in my collection probably since this Blu-ray came out. So this Blu-ray came out in August of 2015. So my guess is I probably bought it in November of 2015 during the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale. That seems
Let's
track.
check. How many years is that? 11
That would
years?
be
Almost
10 and a half.
Oh my
We
God.
want to get technical. So this has been sitting in my Francois Truffaut section of my collection for a very long time, probably to the point where I forget I had it. For some reason, I confused this movie with The Soft Skin. I don't know why. So when I went and chose this, when I went to like deciding a movie for this episode, I went and looked at The Soft Skin. I'm like, oh, that's not the premise that I thought it was. Because I remember this movie. I remember the movie being about a director and being about making of a movie and stuff like that. But I'm like, oh, that I thought it was The Soft Skin. Means to say it's not. It's a movie that he did like a decade earlier in his career. Anyway, this is 1970s Francois Truffaut, a different Francois Truffaut than the one from the early 60s and late 1950s. Gone are the usual stylistic trappings of the French New Wave, and you kind of have the post-French New Wave world of filmmaking in the 1970s. And like I said, you get movies like Mississippi Mermaid and a bunch of other Truffaut films, which actually a bunch of them are coming out now through various of the boutique labels. I know Kino's put out like a whole Francois Truffaut box set. And it's all like movies from the 70s. I know that Radiance put out a couple of them themselves. But this Criterion is actually out of print. Didn't know that until I went and looked it up on their website.
There's a few things going out, but I do think that it means there's 4Ks coming. I think
that was what I was just going to say. Is if the track record goes the way in which it's kind of going, perhaps that's the case. Because recently, we just mentioned David Lynch. David Lynch is The Elephant Man. There was a Blu-ray of that, went out of print. People went crazy, spent way too much money on eBay for them, and then Janus Films went and literally outright bought the movie, and then is going to re-release it on 4K. So Criterion could get the rights back and put it out on 4K. I wouldn't be surprised because they love Francois Truffaut to the point where they put out so many of his movies. And so this movie also stars Francois Truffaut, which I don't know if a lot of people know this. He did quite a bit of acting during his career. Throughout a good portion of his career, he did acting. So he plays a director in the movie about making a movie. His name is Ferrand. I think that's... Yeah, I want to see if I can find his first name. But he is making a movie in Nice, which is in France. And this movie basically chronicles all of the problems that a production can have, whether it is, actors forgetting their lines or actors making different suggestions on how to read their lines. Or whether there is different production issues in terms of getting insurance for certain actors, or or the insurance companies not covering certain actors. So then what do you do in the middle of production for that? What happens when actors are late for set or they don't show up? What happens when you don't have the funding to do certain things and you've got to push things and make things up? What happens when you're still writing the script and you have to give the actress who's going to be in the scene, you have to give them the script that night because you haven't written it yet, or it needs to be rewritten. It's all of these little details that go on throughout a film production that us as viewers probably don't know exist. And it's all of these things just compounding and compounding and compounding. And then meanwhile, also in the background of this production, you get not only the perspective of the director, that's doing all this, but you get the people who are financing the movie, like the producers. You get the crew people have their own storylines going on. They have different relationships. Some have romantic entanglements they're doing because they're in proximity to each other, and it's a movie set and all this kind of stuff. And we've heard all kinds of stories of that happening on movie sets where people just have these affairs and trysts during movie making and stuff like that. So this movie chronicles all of these different storylines going on.
It makes me think of it's like a Robert Altman film,
very similar to Bob Altman.
Yeah,
there's a lot of moving pieces to this. Ironically, I was going to choose a Robert Altman film to pair with this, but I'm not going to.
I was going to say, Nashville.
My immediate thought was going to be The Player, actually.
Oh, okay.
That was
for sure. Yeah,
literally
that makes sense.
the opening of this movie is an homage to the one take shot for the opening of uh Orson Welles's Touch of Evil. It's that one shot of people on a street and just the
Yeah.
different people moving, and it's just an all one take. And there's so many parts in this movie that are all like one take shots that are going on while they're filming the movie, and also while they're showing the production going on around it as well. And what is interesting is there's moments of this movie where Francois Truffaut's character, the director, is having these dreams of like these existential dreams about like his career and his life and the intertwining between the two. And a lot of it has to do with like his obsession with Orson Welles or something like that. It's tough to describe it, but like in his dream, he's this little boy who's like walking along the street with a cane, and he gets to this movie theater, and the movie theater's closed off, but behind this barrier are pictures of like Orson Welles and him him in Citizen Kane and these other movies and stuff like that. And the boy can't like he can't reach it, he can't go past this barrier. And it's dealing so this movie's also dealing with like the existential dread that a filmmaker has of trying to be something great and maybe not feeling like they can reach that point. And so there's a lot going on in this movie when it comes to all of that. And it's interesting of the fact that it's actually Francois Truffaut, himself portraying this character, because perhaps it is him commenting on himself and his, internal trappings of, having a lot of internal thoughts of where he is in his career as a director at this point. I mean, in retrospect, I think we all, or many of us at least in the cinephile world, revere Francois Truffaut for his work. He's part of that generation of exalted filmmakers of the French New Wave, people like Jean-Luc Godard, Agnes Varda, Jacques Rivette, Claude Chabrol, Jean-Pierre Melville, etc., etc. I mean, 400 Blows is like one of the most staple of staple when it comes to, I think, film school movies that you have to watch if you're trying to get into foreign cinema or international cinema. So people at least know who Francois Truffaut is.
And obviously, like this particular genre of movies about movies, is kind of starts with them in a way, like in cinema, because like they were the first kind of generation of filmmakers that were watching movies.
Yeah,
and they were influenced by movies.
It's fascinating because many of them worked at Cahiers du Cinéma, which was a French cinema magazine that basically watched and critiqued movies, and then many of them then went on to make their own movies. So it's kind of like practice what you preach. Put your money where your mouth is. Go and do if you're going to be criticizing these other filmmakers from around the world, go and do it yourself if you can do it better. And many of them did, ironically so.
A lot of them were pretty good.
Yeah, very much so. It's very interesting. In Richard Linklater's newest film, Nouvelle Vague, you see a lot of them. You see a lot of these filmmakers. Well, you don't see them; it's people portraying them, but they're at Cahiers du Cinéma, and it's like the Avengers of the French New Wave all together in one place, and they're all just sitting around like on typewriters, and they're talking to each other. And it's like, oh, who's gonna walk in next? Oh, it's just Jacques Demy and Agnes Varda just dropping by to say hi. Oh, what a time!
And what's interesting about it is that it's a cycle, because it continued, and I think the other famous version of this is when we got to the 90s, and you got your Tarantinos and you got your Kevin Smiths, people that now have had even more time to learn from cinema, to
It's
then
like
reiterate what their vision of cinema is. Like
every generation seems to have their own cast of people, their own cast of young up and coming filmmakers that are all making hits or movies around the same time. You just mentioned the 90s cast, basically the Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, Kevin Smith, Steven Soderbergh, amongst many others. And like every generation has that. It just happened to be during the 60s, it was, the French New Wave. The 70s was New Hollywood. Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, William Friedkin, I would put in there as well, Peter Bogdanovich, too, so many others as well. And then the 80s would have their crop as well. So it just happens. But this movie, for me, what really, captured me about this movie is not only because it's a movie about movie making, which I find endlessly fascinating, but the way in which Truffaut makes this movie, juggling, like I said, all of these different things, not only with him, but all these other characters within the movie, all of them having like their little relationships, little plot lines going on, and us viewers having to follow all of these things, is you're not lost. You're not lost at all. The movie doesn't get bogged down in terms of plot, in terms of having to balance all these things. It's not, oh, we're stuck on this person for too long, we're stuck on that person for too long. No, it there's such an airiness about this movie, just such a light feeling. I don't know. I have this thing where when you're in the hands of a really good filmmaker, you can kind of tell. The movie just feels safe. It feels like you just let yourself over to them and they'll take you on this journey and you'll be fine. The movie is not that long. The movie is less than 2 hours, 116 minutes. So it's not like it's incredibly long, but with all these things within it, it still has such a good pacing to it, and all the and the themes in it I think are also very, very good as well, because they are somewhat relatable. If you are a big fan of movies and movie making and production and things like that, I think this movie you'll dig. Obviously it's entirely in French. You have to read subtitles. Okay, you have to get over that. Some people can't.
Get over it.
Some people can.
For me, and I know this is something I have to get over. But this is a problem with me sometimes with international cinema, is that sometimes humor does not come across to me as well.
That is
in other languages,
I would say in international cinema, just because humor is so language based. I feel humor is so with inflection and all that kind of stuff, and tone and just like that can get lost.
And also just like, it's local. It's to that country. So what they're talking about, I'm not in on it. Sometimes it can be cultural that I'm not involved in. So it's
true. And I feel like this movie has humor within it that you'll kind of get it, but it's like movie satirical humor, movie making satirical humor. I say he's fighting with the producers, or he's fighting with the studio about certain scenes or certain things, and you're like, oh, yep, that's the way big studios are. The people with the money make all the decisions. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
To where you get the references if you're so inclined.
Yeah, I like this movie. It's not my favorite of this type though, because for me, I like something that's a little bit more psychological involved when it comes to film. Like, I feel like it's almost just like a really honest piece about what a day, what the life is of a filmmaker. Like, it's very honest, and there's something about that that's great, but it's also not as. I think it does feel a little long. I don't know that it's about pacing, but the movie does feel like it's like you're stuck in there longer than 2 hours.
There was a moment, I think, in the third act or so where I can understand what you're saying, where the movie gets a little lost, but then when it's coming into its climax, I feel like the ship gets righted. And
I still like the movie.
Well,
I can't help but like it because it's about movie making.
Right.
But it is not one that I'm as fascinated by as I am others of this type. But Chris, you have anything that you wanted to ask, or anything that you've heard about this film? Or
not really. This has been on my Criterion list for a little while, just because I knew it was a movie about making movies, but it's not one I've seen. And I'm actually not even as educated on the filmmaker or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a fascinating time in filmmaking history, so definitely worth a look into. But my go ahead, Andrew. Do you have?
I was gonna say, for those who are Truffaut fans, I guess fanatics. I don't know if they exist. I don't know if there's a Truffaut.
Truffaut fanatics is a cool name. That's
a cool name. But Jean-Pierre Léaud is in the movie, who of course was Antoine from 400 Blows, plus all of the Antoine films, basically. I have them over here. I was trying to see if I have them. Yeah, The Adventures of Antoine. So the same actor who was in this movie is also in all of these movies. He's kind of like, you know how certain directors like to work with the same actors over and over again? It's kind of like that, but the Francois Truffaut version of that.
Okay.
So that was nice to see him in this movie in a bit of a small role, but he's like this young, naive actor who's going through young, naive, young adult type stuff. It's actually kind of something right out of, The Adventures of Antoine. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Awesome. Well, we're going from movie about making movies that's like kind of like crazy psychological entertaining thingy to this more realistic version of the filmmaking process, and now we're gonna get to the crazy shit because my movie Fade to Black, I don't know if you've seen it. Chris, have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I fucking love
Okay,
this
thank
movie.
God. Thank you. And
Yeah.
Andrew's got another edition over there from Vinegar Syndrome, I believe.
Yep, that's the one. I think that's. Which one do I have? I don't know.
So when Vinegar Syndrome put out their Blu-ray, they were like 2 different slipcovers,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
this was one of them. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
got
that's the one. I have that slipcover there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the 88 Films recent 4K edition. There was also who else put it out? Shout, I think. Was it Shout that put it out as well?
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, it put out a 4K as well. But this has like the same features, I believe, all this like interviews and audio commentaries, and there might have been a slight difference, but this looks great. This 4K here looks great. Yeah, this was one I'd heard people talk about a lot, and it was like you, like I'm a big fan of this genre here, and so I was like, let's do it. Let's jump on this one. And I wasn't quite sure what I was getting myself into. I didn't read into it too much. I didn't watch a trailer, and then we get into it. I'm like, dude, this is a little too close to home because it's about this guy who's obsessed with movies.
Yeah.
And he just talks with his life. He's just like, it's like me. I'm like, this is me. Like I was this guy at one point. Like I was single, living at home, and like I just go to the work at my job at the movie theater and talk movies with people all the time. And this is me. Now I did not become a like crazy killer person that I'm aware of. That I'm aware of. But dude, it's just such a fun movie. It's so cool. And and what it eventually becomes is this guy that just acts out movie scenes in his way of acting revenge on people that have wronged him. And it is cinematic in every way. All the kill scenes are just amazing. I love them all. Whether it's him being White doing a scene from White Heat. He's doing like does the Mummy. It's so fun. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I love these films about cinema on cinema that are very psychological, that talk about our relationship with film and how we get obsessed with it. We can, whether it's from the filmmaking aspect or from just being a film lover in this sense, like he's so obsessed with it that it's become his whole identity. It's the only way it's the only thing he has confidence in himself about. Is his knowledge on cinema. So like there's just these kind of like sad moments where like these guys which Mickey Rourke plays a bully at his work, which is hilarious, by the way.
Young Mickey Rourke. Yeah.
Young Mickey Rourke is being a bully at work, and he's like he won some bet with them, but they're like, we're not giving you the money. They get away, and he's just like, yeah, but you didn't know about this, did you? And like nobody's listening, and you're just like, oh, it's so sad. Like, yeah, but I can relate because like I've had moments where I'm just like, this is all I have. I know a lot about movies, but nobody cares. You know what I mean? So it feels that way sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you people that talk movies in our small circle care, but normal people that you're trying to just like talk to, they don't care. So it's like there's a relatability, and it's also it's like scary. You're just like, I hope I don't go down this path. I hope I don't look like this to other people. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into stories. Like I said, it's essentially just an obsession with movies that sends this guy down a dark path. And yeah, tell us how much did you love it? You guys have had more experience with the movie than I have. It's my first time watching it. So Chris, what do you think about Fade to Black?
It was nothing like I expected, because I first watched this on Shudder. It was like, I think Shudder had it on. It was like right before the Vinegar Syndrome release. I think Shudder had it, and it was like the first time in a long time the movie had been available in any sort of accessible way. And it was part of the like, how they do the playlist of like the essentials. I think it was part of the Slashix playlist. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna put it on. and absolutely loved like the devotion and respect to the genre that the film
Yeah.
has. Like it really, like whether he's the mummy or at one point he's like a cowboy in the
He's the
alleyway and
cowboy.
he's like,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep.
God, it's
It's
creepy
like,
too, dude. He's got like
yeah,
that mask going that makes him look more like the actor. Like,
yep,
yeah.
yeah.
God, oh,
It, it's really creepy and it's really unsettling because it does kind of give me like it gives me sort of maybe not as gross, but kind of like Joe Spinell maniac vibes, the
yeah,
relationship with his
yeah,
mother,
for sure.
Um, but one thing that impressed me most about the movie is that the movie feels like moderately budgeted until you get to the third act, and there's this grand finale at the Chinese theater
Yeah,
that is so big in scale and kind of comes at it. It seems like they kind of saved on some of the budget to be able to fully pull off that ending.
yeah.
And it's such a downer of an ending as
It,
well.
it
You
is,
know,
but God, the ride is so entertaining.
it
I mean, I
is.
don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I don't. This is my first time watching it, so I haven't been able to like dive too deeply into my
Mhm.
thoughts about like what the movie's trying to say about uh cinema. I mean, is it that we sometimes have an unhealthy relationship with it? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily what it's trying to say, or that maybe in
I
general we have like a unhealthy relationship with media in general sometimes.
I mean, I
Uh,
can see where it's tough because always like there's still people out there now that believe that horror movies raise serial killers
exactly.
or
Yeah.
inspire serial killers. That's still a narrative somewhere out there in the world. And movies like this don't really help our cause, of it, where it's like, here's a movie about a guy who kills people
A cautionary
inspired
tale.
by
You
the
should.
movies that he loves.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, like I think this movie's best when if you are a horror nerd and you could just kind of pick up on like like it's almost like I've been to many conventions and people dress up in a cosplay and it's like realistically some of them are only one bad decision or one you know second away from almost becoming this person, and that's kind of scary to think about. And I hope there's nobody in the world that loves the stuff that feels as alone and isolated and as turned away as our character in Fade to Black does, because what a terrible situation for somebody to be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Andrew.
Yeah, what is interesting so much about this movie for me, just as a fan of the history of movies, golden age movies of the 30s and the 40s, 50s, et cetera, is the homages to all of those
Mhm.
movies and those movie references, I think are just fantastic. And that's what I really loved about the movie in general. Because as someone who is similar to this person in the sense that you're thinking about these movies constantly, um, and you kind of reference them in real life and all this kind of stuff. It's interesting to me, the fine line between reality and insanity gets ever finer by the day, I think. But this movie, I think, for someone who's watching it for the first time, maybe is not as well educated in the history of movies as some of us are, may want to then go and seek out what movie is he referencing, like
Yeah,
who
I
are
love
these
that.
James
Yeah.
Cagney gangster movies that he's referencing.
Mhm.
What's up with the westerns that he's referencing and all that kind of stuff. I believe I remember in his bedroom he's got pictures of all these movie stars and people from movies all over his wall. It's like if you don't know who some of them are, maybe it will give you the opportunity or the inspiration to go and seek out who these stars are, and then that'll lead you down like their filmographies, and it'll lead you to watch more of their movies, and then you'll expand your movie watching history and your movie education. So this movie's kind of a backdoor pilot of like, hey, watch a lot more older movies, but don't not like him, but not
So
like
that you
him.
can be like this guy. No, no, no. I'm with you. I think that's kind of like the base of like why I think we all love this genre so much, is that it creates a portal of education.
Mhm.
Like you either learn something about the filmmaking process or you learn something about film history, typically through these types of movies. And
Yeah.
that's why I love all the references as well. I'm not quite the one that will go into some like different personality and start like quote. I mean, I might quote a movie, but I might
Yeah.
and then start doing all of that stuff and like kill somebody and be like, doing all the. It's a little crazy. I don't go that far, but yeah,
And it's interesting how the type of person that he is, ironically, or coincidentally, is someone who we've seen in many movies before. He's kind
Mhm.
of like a Norman Bates type character, or the character from Peeping Tom, where he's
yeah,
kind of like that, like this loner type of character who is kind of taking out, some sick fantasies out on the world or something like that. He it's interesting. He's like a movie character within the movies that he loves, while he's also portraying like movie references to doing all of these murders. It's
yeah,
such a paradox in and of itself. You just mentioned the Joe Spinell character from Maniac.
there
Perfect
you go.
example as well.
Yep,
Like he's that type of character.
yep.
Um
Yeah.
it's very what is interesting. I was thinking of that movie the other day because Elijah Wood just did a Criterion Closet video, and he was in the remake of Maniac, which I
Mhm.
think is actually a pretty good remake for people who kind of crap on remakes. The remake of Maniac with Elijah Wood as the Joe Spinell character is pretty creepy. I think it's really good.
And I think with movies like this too, I always try to think of like context of when it came out and how
Yeah,
it would be interpreted today. Because I
Hmm.
think like a movie like this of somebody taking like committing these acts, would a movie like this, if this movie was made, let's just say post Columbine, would it be perceived differently? As if
for
back
sure.
then, you know what I mean? Which seems like a drastic comparison,
Yeah,
but that's kind of like when you have movies like this, it all does kind of come back to, you know, back to Columbine in some form of discussion. You know what I mean?
yeah. It does kind of full circle come back to what you were saying earlier about this crusade against violent films or violent video games or just violent media in general, and how it influences people to then go out and commit violent acts.
Well,
Which
I mean, we have a
I'm sure
similar
there's a
thing with
correlation there, but
yeah, yeah.
there's more to it than that, I think.
Mhm.
There's a similar thing with September 11th. They're like post September 11th movies, like especially action pictures. Like, how does that politically align up with that situation? I mean, I mean, historical events for sure can shape our perspective of previous movies, and change how we view them and change,
Mhm.
but it's also important to watch them within the context of when they came out, because
Mm.
sometimes it can be something can be taken differently, that
It's yeah, I feel like there is a it's a different argument or different conversation when you're talking about a movie made during a specific time, and it depicts certain things that by modern standards is not right or not correct.
Mhm.
Talking like racial,
yeah,
misogynistic, sexual things, things like that. You got to put yourself into the time frame of the time, and then you can have a separate conversation with saying, well, why would it be wrong from a modern perspective?
Mhm.
Why in modern society do we now realize that certain depictions like this are not the way it should be?
yeah,
Um, it's a very interesting, multifaceted thing. It's not black and white. It's not
yeah,
black and
Mhm.
white at all. But in the post Columbine world, I don't think movies have gotten less violent. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I
No.
don't think there's been
No,
there's been necessarily there's been a backlash or more of an awareness of violence within media, but I don't think they've done away
it,
with it. If
if
anything,
anything, it's gotten more violent, to be
yeah, I
honest
was
with
saying, if
you. I
anything,
mean,
things are a little bit more
especially
violent.
on TV. TV has gotten broadened
Yeah,
in its violence, and it's sex that gets suppressed in this country.
yeah,
It,
ironically so.
so
Mhm.
There's so
Mhm.
much more. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's more of a U.S. thing than
no, that's what
anything.
I'm talking about in U.S.
I
Yeah,
Mhm.
mean, the MPAA. How many films did you censor today? But that's a line from Cecil B. Demented for anybody listening.
another great movie
It's
about movies.
yeah, that's a good movie about movies. Huh. I should have picked that, but
I know.
ironically, I don't have it in my collection yet, and it's my favorite John
That's
Waters movie.
sad. So
It's
sad.
it's it stabs me in my heart every day.
I know. We'll get it for you. We'll get it for you. Anybody want to buy it for Andrew so he can
Well, I'm
get
gonna
it?
get it soon, so don't go crazy
Okay,
now.
okay. But let's get around to our pairings. Let's go
Yes.
right back around to Chris and tell us about what you paired with the stunt man. I'm excited.
So maybe this is too. I wondered if I should go like so on the nose, like so similar, or if I should go a little bit different. I ended up going with a very recent movie that I actually had a lot of fun with, and from a director I actually really have come to admire. And I actually paired this up with the Fall Guy.
I knew it. As soon as you started saying
Ooh,
more recent movie.
I
yeah.
was
Yeah,
thinking that as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
I got
I really love I really love this David Leitch era of action films. I think he's become one of my favorites just from a pure entertainment, like entertainment and spectacle. John Wick I love, and I know that David Leitch and Chad Stahelski had a long relationship before. John Wick is I love those movies to death. They're dark. They're not very fun. I don't get a lot of fun out of them.
What? They're super
Like
fun.
it's a different type of fun, man. Different type of fun. But like when I sit down and I watch like Bullet Train. I just revisited Bullet Train and
Yeah.
just had a hell of a good time the entire time. And the
It's
Fall
got
Guy,
they got a cheekiness to them. That's
yeah,
more,
they do.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
The Fall Guy to me, and I heard so much poor criticism about this movie. Like people just did not like it. I ended up watching. I've actually never seen the theatrical cut. I've only seen the 2 hour and 36 minute extended cut.
Yeah.
I think the Fall Guy is the most like the biggest love letter of modern film to just movie making in general. It's so much fun. It's so cool to see, like, oh, here's a set. Here is repeatedly how we do an action scene and an explosion. Watching Ryan Gosling get pulled, on a harness into a wall over and over and over again. But also just going beyond that and into, the kind of adventure he goes on outside of the movie making. It's just a lot of fun. And again, finally, I feel like we live in a world where there's a little bit more appreciation for our stunt people.
For sure.
And there's great YouTube channels like Corridor Crew who has done Stuntmen React, Stunt Women React, and they're able to break these things down. And the conversation about these once kind of minimally looked at positions now finally getting a spotlight on them. And I think nowadays with so much Hong Kong cinema coming out and so much international cinema coming out, obviously these conversations are going to happen. But from the perspective of somebody like David Leitch, who's been on these sets and has had this experience to make a movie from a show that once highlighted these people.
And I believe he was a stuntman. He's a stuntman as well. He was a stuntman.
It was Keanu Stuntman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's incredible to see. And there's something so, I don't know, there's something so classic to me about a modern day movie about the making of movies. It feels kind of lost. Like, I feel like this is something that's kind of been left in the past because with the rise of digital cinema, it seems as if movie making has become so simplified. It seems so easy now. You know what I mean?
I think it's simplified, but I think it's also that there is a lot of like peaks in the window. We see a lot more of the process, but we only see so much of it. But people's unfortunately, it's like because you can do everything on your phone, people like have found a convenient way to make something they think is like cinema, but it's not quite cinema. So then they don't have, some people don't have the interest about how movies are made anymore because they think they're all made on a computer.
Yeah, well, and the Fall Guy does a great job at showing like some of these sets that are in the movie about the making of the movie.
Yeah.
You're seeing hundreds of people on set and you're seeing, the 15, 20 people that are setting up one little stunt and the hours that go into, like, you see an explosion on screen in a wide shot and then it cuts to a medium and you realize that this is a work of 7 different teams, of a safety crew, of everybody coming together and getting involved in it. And I think this movie shows that, and I think it does it in a way that's obviously a little bit more exaggerated. Like there's some stunts in here that are very clearly not pulled off by stuntman for the thrill and whatever. I think I still think the movie falls a little bit too hard on like the just too much green screen use at times where like, you could tell the set is only so big until it's extended out. But honestly, as soon as I finished the Stuntman, I was like, I want to watch the Fall Guy and just kind of get that modern day thrill. Even though I will say, I think the Stuntman is a much, for my taste of practicality, I choose the Stuntman just because it's all real and in camera and there's zero
I think not only for like our taste in the sense of filmmaking, but also I think ultimately there's a little more going on in the Stuntman thematically. I think that person. I mean, I have not seen this longer cut, so
Mhm.
and I remember seeing The Fall Guy and liking it fine, but I didn't love it. I thought that
Mhm.
the relationship between him and
Emily Blunt.
Emily
Emily
Blunt.
Blunt was kind of weird and forced and didn't really feel right. But I didn't hate the movie. I liked it fine. But now I'm really interested to see this longer cut because maybe it fixes some of the problems I had with it. But yeah, I do like. I also like that the double feature is like an older film and then more modern filmmaking. I think that that's a good
I was just gonna say the same thing.
contrast
Yeah.
for a double feature. I
You
like
see
that.
like two vastly different eras of filmmaking
Yeah.
within a movie.
Yeah, well, you have like it's funny because in The Fall Guy, I talked about that moment when you see him do the same stunt over and over and over and over again, and she does that strictly out of abuse for him. She's doing it on purpose,
Yeah.
which is not wasting film. It's digital, so technically your space is you can shoot it as many times as you want, compared to the sequence we talked about in the Stuntman where he's yelling at a camera
Yeah.
operator
For
for
wasting
yelling cut
22
with 22
22
seconds of film.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, so even that in itself is a very interesting comparison from classic to modern.
Yeah, the dynamics have changed, but now it's like, the money's about time more than it is about, time and paying the people that are there
Mm,
over actual film
and
costing
equipment,
money.
yeah.
So yeah. But
Yeah,
I like it. I like it, man. It's
thank you,
you're
sir.
making me want to revisit Fall Guy now. So all right. Well, let's head back over to Andrew and I want to know what he's
Yeah,
what
it's
do you
interesting.
pair with a Truffaut film?
Yeah, it's
Like
interesting because, like I said, if anything, I didn't think I would have a lot to pair it with just because of who the filmmaker was. But then I almost had too much to pair it with, or too many different avenues I could have gone with. Like earlier, I mentioned I could have gone with something that's a satire of really of movie making, which would be like The Player. Something that's
yeah.
criticizing the world of Hollywood, criticizing the world of movie making and all this kind of stuff. Because there is a lot of that within Day for Night. I could have gone with just another movie that was about movie making, which there are plenty of them. There's actually more of them than I thought. But that's what I ended up doing, actually. But I went with the movie Dangerous Game, the Abel Ferrara
Oh
film
yeah.
from
Mm,
1993. Now, this is the imprint release from the Harvey Keitel actor focused box set. Let me get it. Or yeah, it's the film focused Harvey Keitel box set, so it's in here. But they did re-release it through, I believe, Cinematograph from Vinegar
yeah.
Syndrome has
Mhm.
a release as well, and that came out several years after this release. But I have it in this collection here, and I had not seen the movie or really had heard of the movie until I watched it for Chasing Labels because that box set was coming out. And this is an Abel Ferrara film, and Abel Ferrara is a unique director, not for everyone. He is a bit of a different director than Francois Truffaut in every sense of the way. I feel like Abel Ferrara's films, uh, as compared to a Francois Truffaut film, energy wise, feeling wise, are like vastly different. Francois Truffaut, like I mentioned earlier, his films feel light and airy, good pacing, everything. You're going through it as a nice ride, a nice brisk summer day. Abel Ferrara's films are the opposite. It's like dark, dank, and it's like two rocks rubbing up against each other and then just smashing against each other. That's an Abel Ferrara film because Abel Ferrara is a harsh director. I feel he did the movie Bad Lieutenant, also with Harvey Keitel, a harsh film, mind you. Um, uh, and he did several other really dark films. Didn't he do uh,
What's
is
that?
Driller Killer, is that his
Addiction.
movie?
Remember Addiction? The
Yeah,
black
he
and
did
white.
Addiction,
Yeah.
which he actually
Yeah.
he did
Miss
right after this. So he went
Yep.
from this movie to Addiction right after, a black and white, like, art house vampire film. A completely different vibe, but Abel Ferrara is a not like I said, he's one of those directors who's, like, influenced someone like Nicholas Winding Refn or, Gaspar Noé or Lars von Trier. Like, I feel like he's kind of in that realm a bit
Yeah.
because his movies are not afraid to push the envelope and go to places that are not for everyone. Um,
Yeah, just watch Miss 45. You'll
yes,
get a
Miss
real sense
45
of
is
that.
another
Good one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Arrow release is really great release
Love
though.
it.
That
Yeah.
4K from
Mhm.
last year. Um, and I was saying, I think he also did. I think Driller Killer is one of his
Mhm.
earlier movies,
Yep.
and that That's a harsh movie. You can just imagine by the title. But this movie here, Harvey Keitel is a film director, a New York film director. Harvey Keitel, with playing a character from New York, not a big stretch.
I'm from
Um,
New York.
he famously played Judas
Yeah.
Iscariot in Last Temptation of Christ with a New York accent. And people remember that. And in this film, he is a filmmaker. Like I said, he's a director working on a movie. And in similar ways to the Francois Truffaut film, a lot of issues are occurring while making the movie. But a lot of the issues, as opposed to Day for Night, are issues that he's kind of creating himself, because he is having a bit of a sexual affair with the lead actress of his film, portrayed by Madonna. This was during the time in which Madonna was starring in many movies in the 80s and 90s. She hasn't really done any acting since, for the most part. But I think she's coming back again, ironically, to do an episode of The Studio, the Seth Rogen show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And anywho, she's in this film. She plays the leading lady in his film that Harvey Keitel is making, and they have an affair that's going on. But he's also married as well. So what is happening is that he's having problems in his marriage. He's having an affair with the lead actress of his movie, and all of these conflicts outside of that turmoil that's happening outside of his life is affecting the way in which he's making this movie. And he's starting to bring all of that baggage onto the set. He's starting to be more aggressive and angry towards actors and actresses. He's starting to demand more from scenes. He's starting to get more and more upset with what's going on. But it's not because the movie's going bad necessarily. It's because he's got a lot of problems going on himself. And so the movie gets incredibly darker and darker. And it doesn't help the fact that the movie that he's making is about a married couple whose marriage is kind of falling apart as well. So it's like his real life is mirroring the movie that he's making. And I think we've seen that happen a lot in movie making and just in films in general, where a lot of the outside baggage people bring into the making of their movie, whether it's an actor, actress, director, producer, or whatever. Sometimes it's like therapeutic for them to kind of get all of that stuff out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. We've seen people who are married star in movies together and then they get divorced right afterwards. I'm thinking of Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman,
Yeah.
Eyes Wide
Yeah.
Shut.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that. I'm also thinking of
Wasn't,
going back to
wasn't Madonna married to
Guy Ritchie?
Yeah,
Yeah,
at
she's
this
married to
time,
Guy
probably.
Ritchie.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of Orson Welles and Rita Hayworth,
Mm.
who starred in. Oh my goodness, why am I blanking right now? This is what happens.
Oh,
Um,
God, I should know this too.
It's not The Stranger.
No,
It's
uh,
not Shadow of a Thief. No, what am I thinking of?
no, it's the God. This is embarrassing.
Lady from Shanghai.
God damn it! I saw the
Damn it,
indicator release
couldn't
right in
get
my
it out.
head.
It reminds me I need to rebuy that movie in a better version. But anywho, that's neither here nor there. But it just shows you like two married couples, working on a movie together
Yeah.
can benefit a marriage or can tear the marriage asunder. And those are two cases where that happened. So this movie is kind of depicting Harvey Keitel's like the dissolution of his life is affecting his work. And that's kind of why I decided to choose this movie, because it's got that movie making vibe to it, and it's also centered primarily around a director,
Yeah.
but it's darker and more harsher and more subversive than what Francois Truffaut was doing in Day for Night. Yet again, like I said, Abel Ferrara and Francois Truffaut, two vastly different directors. This feels more like an apropos Abel Ferrara. It's kind of like Abel Ferrara doing Day for Night. Now that I think about it.
Hey, I mean, I like a good double feature that has contrast to it. Not all of them need to be like one for ones,
Right.
that feel similar in vibe.
It's like similar
yeah.
premises, different energy, different vibes,
Yeah, yeah,
and different perspectives of a similar situation. Like I said, a movie production.
sure.
But yeah, it's a Harvey Keitel film from the 90s I hadn't seen until I watched this several years ago. And yeah, whether you get this release or whether you get the cinematograph release, I think it's definitely worth a watch if you're into these types of movies and you're not wary about like darker, more like nihilistic movies.
Yeah. I think I've seen this. I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but I need to get that cinematograph release. So I'm gonna do that for sure. Any words on this, Chris?
I want to campaign to bring back the 90s grit and 90s nihilism back to
Yes,
filmmaking. I miss it.
please.
That's really about it though. This is the one cinematograph release that I've been eyeing since announcement, just because I've learned over the years to really come to love and admire Abel Ferreira. So it's one I haven't seen yet, but it's on a list of needing to buy.
Yeah, love it, man. Love it. I'm with you. Plus, since I'm going to be doing that podcast, I got to get as many of these movies in my house as possible. No,
Yeah,
but
you don't have a big enough collection as is. I think you need
no,
to go bigger.
it's not.
There's always room for more.
There is room for more for sure. But let's get to my double feature. I was thinking about the obsession angle. That it didn't have to necessarily be movies, but I wanted it to be similar. And the thing that popped right into my head. See if you're on my level here, guys. American Psycho.
Mm.
Do you see it?
About a movie.
Yeah. Well, okay. Look. So there's a lot of references to movies and music in this. You know, right before he's about to kill somebody, he tells him about Huey Lewis, and and so like I think there's this like obsession with, consumerism, media. Our main character Patrick Bateman, who's this yuppie that is pretending to be a yuppie. Really, I mean, he's not. It's not that he necessarily wants to do this stuff. He's just trying to keep up with the Joneses. Mm-hmm. He's really hiding, this predatory character behind the scenes. At least that's what the movie wants you to think he is. I've looked at different like interpretations of this movie, and some people think this is just all in his head. And then there's people that think he's actually killing people, but I don't know. We'll talk about that for a second. But I thought this really paired nicely on that sense of like being obsessed with what people think of you, and like what you decide you want to make your identity, and then that thing kind of eating you, turning you into a bad person, and then doing terrible things. I felt like really linked up nicely. And there are definitely two. I when I watch American Psycho, I find that to be a way more satirical movie over something like Fade to Black, which I think, it has some laughs in it, but like uncomfortable laughs. But I'm guessing both of you have seen American Psycho
many times.
Oh yeah, many times. Yeah.
What do you think about this pairing? Since you've both seen Fade to Black as well.
I think I definitely get it. American Psycho to me is it's a story of kind of like trying to fake a status, trying to fit in, which is, to me, the scariest parts of American Psycho aren't even any of the killing. It's the, like, I think of the business card scene, which is just like the most desperate, like sweat-inducing scene of the movie, of upping each other over, the texture of your business card, or the ink or the font. You know what I mean? It's these little tiny comparisons that mean nothing, and it's like, reality is most of these people that he's trying to be like are just pieces of shit. Like, you don't want to be like them. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to fit in with people that you don't even that you shouldn't even be trying to. But I think the genius of the movie is to me, I can't tell you if I fall on it all being real or if it all being in his head. I have no interpretation. Well, like, I don't know how to.
I don't need. I go back and forth. I mean, there's obvious points in the movie where he's kind of like crying out for help in ways. Like, it's like he's like telling people that he like there's that scene where he's with Reese Witherspoon, and he's like telling her, he's like, I don't think we can get married because I don't have time for this. I have to have time to kill people, basically. And and then she doesn't hear it at all, and she's like, oh, what are we doing? Like, so it's like, what are we in? Like, did he just like say that out loud but not really, or are people really just not listening to him? It's like, is this a cry for help, or is this like just some kind of fun in your head? Like, he is psychotic and he is killing people. I don't know.
and I don't know how to say her last. I think Mary, is it Heron? Is that how you say her last name? The director,
Yeah,
Mary
Mary Harron.
Heron,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, just her approach to this film in all aspects is so genius. I was telling my wife, she already knew when I told her, but the kind of the little scene between Willem Dafoe and Christian Bale in his office, that little kind of not interrogation, but that little sequence, she actually had Willem Dafoe perform the scene 3 times, one of him being suspicious, one of him being certain, and one of him kind of having no suspicion whatsoever. And that scene is a mix of all 3 of his
I love it.
performances,
I love it.
which
Yeah.
is such an interesting like way to throw you off, because every time it cuts back to him, it's almost like you're getting a different person and a different
Yeah.
response, and you can't measure any of it. So it all feels so masterfully manipulated anyway. It's almost kind of like, this is why when I talk about the 90s, I love like David Fincher, I think masterclass with Fight Club, of
Yeah.
just never letting you feel a certain way. You're always hanging on to something and you're always unsure what's real, what's not, what's this. I think this movie does that so well, and I think it is a great pairing with Fade to Black. And I actually think this is American Psycho is a much darker, more concerning film than Fade to Black is.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I would definitely agree with you on that. Just because there seems to be not a misinterpretation, but an odd interpretation of these types of movies, like American Psycho, plus many others, where people look at the Patrick Bateman character and idolize him in a
Mhm.
way because, like, oh, they want to be like, look at him, he's handsome, he's fit, he's got a beautiful apartment, he's got all, he's got this beautiful girlfriend, he works on Wall Street, high paying job, all this kind of stuff. um but you're not supposed to, because he's a psychotic murdering person. And it's fascinating to me how many people kind of misinterpret this movie, because I think the whole movie is a satire, and I feel like the whole
Mhm.
movie is satirical, not only about a specific type of person, of which I just said. I think it's a satire about the 1980s
Mhm.
entirely, because he is like the quintessential ideal 80s American man, where he works on Wall Street. He's got the suits, he's got the hair, he's got the workout routine, he's got the body, he's got everything, but it's rot. He's rotten to the core. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's about the rot underneath. David Lynch would do that a lot. He did it with Blue Velvet. This idea of
Mhm.
this white picket fence suburbia, but behind the scenes, there's bad stuff going on. He did the same thing with Twin Peaks, where Twin Peaks
Yeah.
is quaint small town in the northwest. It's got these very folksy type of people. Meanwhile, there's some really shady bad stuff going on in the background, and it kind of
Mhm.
just like slowly eroding this area of the world. And I feel like American Psycho does that. And I think Mary Harron purposely did that. Like, the whole movie is supposed to be critiquing 1980s like capitalism, critiquing 1980s misogyny, just critiquing that whole world and that whole society. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, to where they think the movie's cool. And I'm like, the movie's not really supposed to be cool.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be horrifying, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole scene where he's got the 2 women and he's like just like making him do whatever he wants, and then just that control, that sense of
Yeah,
control that he's
and that's what people. There is a special sect of society, not to go too into the woods here, that kind of idolize that. This idea of controlling other people, specifically the domineering department of dominating, or subjecting other people to your will and stuff like that. The whole alpha male idea thing. This
yeah.
idea that Patrick Bateman is this
But
alpha male, if you
but he's
will.
also
But he's also kind of a wimp. Like,
but
the
what you
people
don't
around him
understand,
don't
but if
respect
you're
him
not
at all.
yeah, and if you don't really pay attention to that scene, you realize that he doesn't even care about having sex.
Mhm.
It's about
Yeah,
like him,
yeah, that famous
he's
gif that you see all the time. It's him looking at himself in the
he's just
mirror,
posing.
like
He's
he's
just yeah,
posing.
yeah.
He's a
It's
poser.
it,
Yeah.
it's almost like because he's videotaping this threesome
Yeah.
that he's having, and it's almost like he's gonna use that later to like jerk off to himself. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's like an obsession of self.
I
Yeah.
bet you that camera's pointed just entirely at him the entire time. Like,
Mhm.
Exactly.
it is not about anyone else but himself. His
Yeah.
ego
Mhm.
is just so massive. Um, but like you said, like, nobody around him respects him. Like, all of his other people around him, like, no one really reveres him or anything like that. But in his own mind, he wants to be the alpha. He wants to be better
his
than everyone else.
and
That's
his
what the
only
whole card scene's about. It's
yeah,
about him having the best card.
and his only way of feeling like he's completely in control is when he can kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that's the ultimate control, is taking somebody's life. And so I think that, yeah, I mean, it's a movie about self-obsession, like you said. So, you know, like this materialistic self-obsession, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's a good one. We could go deep into this. This
Yeah,
movie, it's
I
got a
wrote a whole
lot.
paper on Patrick Bateman, so
Yeah,
I
it's
can go into
There's
it.
only I only have one gripe with this movie, and it's when he drops the chainsaw. How does it land in her at that angle
yeah,
that it
yeah.
does?
That,
That's
well,
my
that's
only.
probably leads to the people arguing like it's all in his head, because like that's like a
Yeah,
1 in a million shot. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. How,
Well,
no, we're-
like I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, but hey, that scene alone right there's a great reference to Fade to Black. He literally acts out the scene from Texas in his head, you know, just chases her with the chainsaw. And earlier in the movie, that movie was on the TV. And so, yeah, you know, so there's a little bit of actual literal kind of reference to Fade to Black, but in that way. But I think this would be a really good pairing, and I hope somebody does it and lets us know what they think. But that is it for our Unwatched pile tonight. Chris, appreciate you joining us.
Viv, thank you so much again, man. This was a blast, and I love that I had a reason to throw on the stunt, man. I absolutely love it. So thank you for that.
No. Anytime you want to come back and you got another unwatched movie that you want to get off the pile, just let us know and we'll have you back, man.
Absolutely will. I appreciate it. Thank you guys again.
Of course, and tell everybody where they should go to interact with you.
Yeah, I'm mostly over on Instagram at Bearded Film Guy, and then also Beyond the Blood podcast and Fireside Collection. Both are available anywhere you can find your podcast. We're always there. We're getting ready to drop an episode on Monday where we dove into the commentary for the original Faces of Death. So if you're you know, if you're in an interesting mindset, you know, maybe that's one to come hang out and learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, and maybe if you've seen with the remake or the whatever it is that's come out recently, right? Maybe if you saw that and you liked that or didn't like it, maybe you should go visit this one so you can get a little bit more of an idea what that's inspired by.
Yep,
that's one way to do it. So, but you can find this, of course, on Chasing Labels. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and check out all the other stuff we got going on. Andrew will be back again. I think next Monday?
Yep.
Or this coming Monday?
The 18th, I think.
The 18th.
Yeah, the 18th is that Monday.
Yeah, for Chasing Labels. And we should have a review for some Criterions coming soon. So we got a couple new ones coming this week, and then you can find the audio also on the Apple Podcast for all these shows. So and we did just do a special tribute to Tony Stella this week, the passing of Tony Stella. So please check that out. Great artist, great illustrator for many of these releases that we talk about. He will be sorely missed. So please, find ways to keep talking about him, keep his artwork moving. I'm sure we still got more releases with his stuff on it coming very soon. So, but that is it for tonight's show. Thanks again. And what the hell are you still doing here? Just go watch a damn movie. God. Good night.
Watch a